And there we go. So, yes, good evening, good afternoon, good evening, I guess. To everybody, thanks for joining the November virtual meetup of the Welsh Azure user group. Quickly run through the preamble just to let you know what we've got going on, a few housekeeping rules. As always, a big warm welcome from your Welsh Azure user group team, myself and Mr. Fatunka there. As always, we're always on the lookout for kind of thoughts, ideas, speakers, anything that you've got. If you want to reach out to us, feel free to add us on LinkedIn or X there. We try and be as active as we can, but yeah, always welcome for any thoughts and ideas. Be great to hook up with you all. Thank you all for joining. As always, it's great to see the folks that join in, and I'm sure we'll have a few more people filtering through the door as I work through this. But just a few housekeeping rules as always. This is a community user group. You have control of your video and your audio, so obviously please do try and stay off, stay on mute, I should say, unless you're invited to come off. Please be courteous to each other. Should be something that we shouldn't have to say, but please do. There are no silly questions. Remember, we are all here to learn. So we've had some great speakers. We've got another great speaker joining us tonight, so I'm sure he will absolutely love some questions. Like I say, do stay on mute if you can, just not to distract the speaker unless you're invited to come off mute. Use the chat window. You should have access to the chat facility in the Teams meeting. Drop your question in there, and obviously we can help each other out if there's any other random questions or asks. We will have a quiz after the speaker, so stick around for that, and there will be some quiz prizes to win. So, but more importantly, it's try and be as interactive as you can. We're all here to have a little bit of fun whilst we're learning something new. So on that note, I'm going to just quickly introduce you to our speaker for this evening. It's Fabrizio Volpe. So thank you very much for joining us, Fabrizio. Looking forward to your talk, and it's all around. I know we've had a couple of talks actually on Azure Communication Services over the last over the last few months, but this is building scalable voice solutions. So really keen to see and hear your talk, Fabrizio. So looking forward to that. Timing wise, I will stop speaking in a moment. I just need to do a quick couple of thank yous, but we'll kick off with Fabrizio fairly soon. Round about 7:30, 7:15, however the time lies, we'll jump into the quiz. So we should hopefully be wrapped up by around about 7:45 UK time, that is. So, as always, just a quick thank you to our sponsors. I know these slides are slightly out of date now, I've been told, but a quick thank you, as always, to our sponsors, Servant, that have kind of stuck around with us over the last 5 years since we've been a user group in the Azure space. They help with obviously spot prizes and event organization and things like that. So big thank you for Des and the team in Servant for kind of giving us that support over this period of time. If you don't know who they are an Azure pure play partner based up in Glasgow. Really great bunch of folks. So if you don't know who they are, reach out, say hello to them on LinkedIn. And also thank you to CreditSafe as well. Again, they've been around sticking with us for the last couple of years now, and they're a locally HQ'd company based in Cardiff. So as the Welsh Azure Use Group, we've always seen it that we like to partner up with local Welsh businesses to help seed that knowledge and that networking opportunity between everybody. So big shout out to CreditSafe and Servant. And on that note, I was thinking about doing a big preamble into Ignite, but I think we've got enough Ignite stuff to dig into. We can all catch up with that after this event. So I think what we'll do, we'll just jump straight into it, Fabrizio. So I think I might have to give you access, so bear with me. Let me just do that for you, or unless you've already got it. Actually, you should already have it.
I can try to share.
Welcome. Yeah, over to you. Feel free, share away.
All right.
Welcome to the user group, Fabrizio.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. So I will go straight to my slides, as predictable as it is. The slide that I like less in my life is the one about myself, so I will try to make it quick. I am a senior consultant in Exponentially. It's a company with their main office in London. We work both on the networking, so infrastructure, but I'm part of the professional services, so we look after Microsoft 365, Teams, and different customers, different size, usually medium or large. In the past, I had an opportunity to write a few books. That's before ChatGPT was a thing, so I promise it was honest writing. Then clearly, right now, writing a book is always something that could be a little bit suspicious if you want. And I am one of the organizers of the Be Connected Day. Be Connected Day is a conference that we have in Italy every year. And we started as a user group. And right now, the past year, we had like 600 participants plus sponsors and so on. So it was a really big event, free, by the way. And the picture that you see here is actually the one of the rooms in the cinema that we were able to fill with people. So that was really nice. And when I have time, I like to travel. And one of the things that I do is visiting airplane museum, war museums. So this one is the one that I have seen in Russia, because before Russia was not a place easy to visit. And that's their copy of the Concorde, which they just keep them out in a garden under the rain. So they're not really loving their stuff, if you want. But that was really impressive to see. Now, bonus point, if you know what this one is, that was the Birmingham Central Exchange in 1922. So telephones went on a long way from this picture to ACS. Main question that everybody asks me when we talk about ACS is, why should I care? I mean, we have Teams, we have Zoom, we have Slack, we have WhatsApp, you name it. There are 10,000 different apps that do more or less on the tin. They do exactly what ACS does. Well, actually, the difference is that ACS is a system that gives you the same stuff that you do in Teams, plus gives you what you can do with WebRTC, which is videos and audio and conferencing, plus gives you call automation, plus gives you PSTN and SMS and identity and email, and all the services that are listed here, actually they are exposed like APIs. So it means that actually you can develop your own solution, whatever it is, and use ACS to give you the infrastructure to the service via the APIs. So that's why it is interesting, because actually, compared to other solutions that are clearly more difficult to use for custom development, for dedicated development, ACS actually gives you full access to a big list of tools. And we are going to talk about that. First thing, ACS is really different from other platform as a service offerings. And that's because one of the main points about communication services is that it has to be performant. What do I mean? Voice, video, voice and video mainly are really sensitive to delays. A bad connection, and we will see a few parameters, but a bad connection is something that for other softwares is absolutely fine. For voice, a bad connection means actually that you are going to see the classic metallic robotic voice or delays or broken voice, and the video, clearly the quality of the video is going to go down and down. So communication services as a primary objective has to deliver you high quality connections, and we will see how it works. So using ACS means that instead of having to create for your software your own signaling, media handling, telephone infrastructure, and so on, you can actually use ACS and use a carrier-grade infrastructure. If somebody knows Speedy Gonzalez, you know what I mean. It has to be fast. Side by side with being performant, communication services has also another mandate, which is to be able to scale up to really big numbers. Because actually, if I am exposing a service that is a phone number, it is a video meeting app, or whatever is the case, I could move from a few users to thousands in a really short amount of time. So one of the main features of communication services is auto-scaling the service by itself without me having to do work around that. The service is able to auto-scale from a single connection to many, many thousands. The second point that, again, is all about the infrastructure that's on the back is that it is a service that runs in different data centers spread all around the world. So even if there is a problem with a specific data center, or if the people that use your app are spread around the world, you are going to be able to provide them with a local or nearly local service based on Azure regions. And also, in case there is any kind of failure with one data center, you're sure that your app is going to be anyway visible and able to run. I was talking about how performant has to be ACS, communication services. There are a few parameters that you have to consider when we talk about the quality that communication services have to give you. The first one is round trip time, which must be 200 milliseconds or less. If we go over 500 milliseconds, there is a perception on the user side that there is a delay. For video and audio streams, poor quality is a jitter over 30 milliseconds, or a packet loss over 10%, or again, RTT over 500 milliseconds. The latency ideally should be below 50 milliseconds. So as you can see, the numbers are really, the network numbers are really, really tight. And communication service has to stay inside this kind of bracket to be usable. On the back of communication services, one of the main tools that communication services use is WebRTC. WebRTC is a open technology that was originally created to allow access to web communication like video calls and so on via browser. So the idea is that you don't need a full client, you don't need your Teams client. You can just run a browser and create your meeting, your connection. And using WebRTC, it means that a website or an application can stream audio, video, information, and so on, without, and that's the main point about WebRTC, without installing software or installing plugins. That's a product that works with the browser. So why we have WebRTC in communication services? Well, it's one of the technologies that allows real-time voice and video in the web browser. Communication services adds on top of WebRTC, so on top of an open protocol, an open technology, we have signaling managed by Azure, identity and authentication, the infrastructure that we have talked about, integration with PSTN, we will talk about that, call automation via APIs and SDK. So there are a large number of technologies and solutions that use WebRTC. Communication services, starting from WebRTC, actually gives you a list of additional features that you can use. Now, when you create in Azure a communication services resource, what happens is that you are connecting something on top of the global Microsoft network. So you're using the global SAP and the global media fabric. You're using the same backbone that is used for Teams, Dynamics 365 Voice, and Operator Connect, just for example. So for the price that you pay for the service, and we will talk about that, you have access to something that is really the best quality that you can find on the market. Again, that's the same stuff that people pay for use it with Teams. So that gives you an idea about how good it must be. In the backbone, so the same backbone of Teams again, we have SAP gateways from Microsoft, media fabric and network infrastructure that takes care of routing and processing the voice, video, chat, and so on. Again, the SIP gateways from Microsoft are spread all around the globe. So there is a really good possibility that when you connect to communication services, you are using a really quick service that is as local as possible. So if you have a decent internet connection, potentially you can enjoy the service without any kind of issue. ACS is a gateway, a portal to this kind of high level, high quality network. Communication services is again different from many platforms and services that you see in the cloud, because actually it's located in a place that's in the middle of different realities, including the fact that it sits in the middle between Azure Identity and a built-in security that is not the Azure security. We will see something in a minute, but ACS is a communication platform that is able to work with Azure Identity and security layers. However, when we talk about identity, communication services has a different model, a dedicated model that allows you to integrate your existing identities like Entra or whatever is your favorite identity provider. But again, you have to create a bridge to make your identity provider talk with communication services. So we are not going to apply your identities straight on communication services. From the security point of view, communication services use Azure, is an Azure service in the end. But again, the main function of communication services is creating an infrastructure, a communication infrastructure. So the kind of security that you apply with Azure is different from other solutions that you can use. It is doable to federate a token that you receive from communication services with Entra, for example. And so you are able to create an hybrid between your Entra authentication and communication services. Now, I have shown this one in a slide, but actually I have it running. That's a small bridge running on my client at the moment. And the bridge has a function which is matching an imaginary user from a fake Entra domain with a real ACS token. So that's what happens inside your app. I create a connection between my provider, my identity provider, and communication services. And inside the token, you have all the informations that allow an app, a user, or whatever is the case, to connect to communication services. Okay. So, as I said, that you can see different information inside the token. That's the one that is more relevant to show that actually the bridge is doing the job. It is matching an end user with an communication services endpoint. Okay, so the token is only used for voice and chat, voice, chat, video, obviously. It is not an authentication in the app. Again, ACS has its own identity model, but it is able to interact with whatever identity you want. So your identity provider authenticates the user. A token broker, I used a node.js as an example, maps the app user ID to an ICS ID, the common token, and then using the token, I am able to open the ACS communication. How difficult is to create Azure Communication Services? Not difficult at all. You are able to create a resource group, generic resource group. You are able to create a communication service, a couple of parameters literally. It's kind of important to decide where, in which region, in which data center is going to be hosted. But anyway, it's really plain, really easy. First thing that you will see is that creating a communication services resource in Azure gives you a unique domain name, which is usually something.communication.azure.com. Now, why communication service does something like that? Because potentially I could use this endpoint to connect an SBC, so a device software that is the front end of phone lines. We'll talk about that, but basically having this endpoint, this identification, means that I can use my phone lines inside or as part of a solution that includes communication services. If you are familiar with App Service, this is a solution that works more or less like App Service, okay? This one is the fixed point where you can plug direct routing, you can plug voice gateway interaction, and so on. So this is not just a cosmetic vanity FQDN, is actually a functional one. This one was the Ericsson factory in Beeston. So let's say that now we have our communication services deployed. As soon as I deploy communication services inside, I already have channels. What kind of channels do I have? Well, reality is that ACS is not a single service, it's not a monolithic object, it's a framework, and inside the framework we have the different workloads. So just to give you a couple of examples, chat. There is a workload which is just chat inside communication services. And I can deploy a chat using communication services without any kind of additional component required. Telephony and SMS, I'm going to talk about this one a little bit more, obviously. Okay, there is a random F here, ignore that. Communication Services is able to integrate with the PSTN network to receive phone calls, to make phone calls, to receive SMS. And the connection, again, could be via the Microsoft network or via direct routing. I will talk about direct routing, but it is the way for your organization to deploy its own phone numbers. Because clearly, if you use the Microsoft network, the Microsoft edges and so on, the numbers that you're going to use are the ones that Microsoft is going to provide you. And eventually, you could prefer a different solution for different motivation, like keeping your existing phone numbers, for example, or because you have an offer with your provider that is better than the one that Microsoft is able to give you. That's another motivation. Another different workload, another different channel is the voice and video calling. So in this case, based on WebRTC, you can use the Azure Media Infrastructure to have real-time peer-to-peer media connection. I'm not going to talk about Stantan, which is, let's say, a solution of protocols that allows you to communicate with voice and video, even if you are on the back of a firewall. So that's why you will see from time to time in the documentation this kind of protocol solution coming out, but that's it. Sometimes it's just a couple of solutions to be sure that one way or another you are able to communicate with the SIP gateways. So you are able to send your voice, your video, and so on. Communication Services has also email. So inside Communication Services, you will have support for Azure Managed Domains. And in that case, you don't even need to create DNS records and so on. It's all inside the system, let's say. Or you can deploy your verified domain. And as part of the verified domain, you can also add mail security like DKIM, SPF, DMARC, and so on. So as you can see, there are many, many tools and many, many workloads inside a single frame. Okay, inside the Communication Services, you have a small tool, which is tokens. And this one can be used from a developer that wants to try the service without having to create a real connection to Communication Services. The idea is that you can create a chat or a voice and video or in video token, and this token is going to last for 24 hours. With the token, you are able to authenticate directly with Azure Communication Services without having to expose the connection string or the access key. Connection string and access key clearly are more critical as information, especially the access keys, and so you want to keep them as safe as possible. So this is a solution to say, okay, for 24 hours, you have access to the platform, you can deploy whatever you want to deploy, you can test it, and then it expires and I am safe. Okay, as part of the telephony voice in Communication Services, there is a function that allows you to buy phone numbers. So the phone numbers that you can buy inside Communication Services are more or less similar to the ones that you can buy if you have a Teams tenant. You can have toll-free. In that case, clearly, if you receive a phone call, the cost of the phone call is on your number, so it's on you. You can buy a local number, and there is a choice between different location wherever you want the numbers. Actually, in this case, I said United Kingdom, but clearly it can be anywhere. And there is also an option for mobile numbers. Now, toll-free mobiles are usually tied to the availability in the country. What I mean, for example, for the United Kingdom, I didn't see any toll-free number available at the moment. So I don't know if it is just because there is no more availability, or if they are actually not something that they offer on the United Kingdom. If you try United States, probably you have also mobiles and toll-free. So it really depends on, it really changes based on the market, because clearly for each nation, there is local regulation that you have to respect. What is the cost? So to rent or subscribe, you decide what is the right term for you here, but to have a phone number for 1 month, the cost is $1. Every minute of outbound calls for a national number is 0.0116 pence. So it's really not too expensive. How much time does it take to get a phone number? Literally next, and you have a phone number. So that's absolutely flexible and fast. That's a UK mobile number that you can buy via communication services, or a local number if you prefer. Clearly, in this case, and that's the idea that I was trying to introduce, in this case, your voice provider, your telco, is going to be Microsoft. So you are going to use the Microsoft network, and you are going to use a Microsoft provided number. As part of the platform, you have also short messages, SMS. You are able to create apps that are going to use communication services to send and receive short messages. And you can even use the numbers that we have seen before, so the Azure hosted phone numbers. In reality, what happens is that those numbers are more planned to be service number. So a mobile number that I buy on communication service, potentially I'm going to use it to send SMS to customers, for example, to receive help desk messages, and so on. On top of that, as part of the services that Microsoft is able to give you, there is what is called an alphanumeric sender ID. In that case, instead of presenting your phone number when you send a message, an SMS, you are able to show the company name, for example. And that's really useful when you want to do marketing campaign or customer reach, because clearly your message is going to be branded with the company name. And so it's already a good start compared to a generic mobile number. So again, when the mobile phone of the customer receives your message, actually they're going to see my company or Contus or whatever is the company name. Branding is quite important for marketing. So alphanumeric sender ID. Another feature that you have in communication services is SMS. You can use a short code, which is a 5 or 6 digit phone number, and this one is planned to send thousands of messages per minute. So we are talking about a maximum of 12,000 SMS per minute. Clearly, again, this one is meant to be used for mass marketing, for example, or for a council that has to reach thousands and thousands of people with communication. So it's really impressive to have this kind of fun feature inside a web service. So mass communication, and alphanumeric IDs, they were just outgoing. So you were able to send whatever information you needed to send. But in this case, you are also able, with the short codes, you are also able to get an answer. So for example, are you going to join us tonight? Yes, no. Are you going to, I don't know, deploy this form by end of the month? And again, the person that received the message is also able to answer to you. As part of the communication services, you have this make a phone call. So if you buy a phone number, you are also able to test it without doing anything. What do I mean? Probably makes sense to show it quickly. Okay, let's go into our resource group. Let's go into the communication services. Okay, as you can see, I talked about the channels. Here they are. I bought a phone number, and as part of the web interface, the admin interface, I can test my phone number, making a call to, okay, this is the phone number that I bought from Microsoft. Try phone calling. The call from, and clearly there is my phone number, and call to, this is the JavaScript, the code that has been used to create the one on the left. So I think that this one gives you an idea. As long as you are able to write code that is able to interact with communication services in the right way, you are able to make phone calls, you're able to make video calls, you're able to make any kind of communication service without having to install or to deploy anything more than communication service itself. So questo try phone calling is actually this page that I have shown you that allows you to test your Azure phone numbers, and also the JavaScript code that you see, we can split it in pieces. So what happens in the JavaScript? Well, I import the communication services SDK modules for identity, call management, and so on. I am connecting to communication services, usually using the FQDN and the access key. So that's why the access key is really critical and must be kept safe, because actually having the URL that is potentially easy to guess and the access key, whoever is on the internet is able to use your service. That's how it works. Then the JavaScript creates a token, and then it creates a call agent, and that's it. Okay, now, so far I talked about the numbers provided by Microsoft, but I also said it is doable, it is possible to use your phone numbers. Now, probably you heard that, but from here to a really short amount of time, traditional ISDN lines are going to be removed. And one of the motivations is that right now, a large part of the voice calls, they travel on SIP trunks, so they travel on the internet. What happens if I want to, for example, migrate my existing phone numbers to the cloud, so to a different solution, to a SIP solution? Well, I can move my numbers to a provider that has support for SIP trunks, and then what I can do is connect the SIP trunk, so the voice connection, on the back of a device which is called an SBC. An SBC is a hardware or software that is born to be connected to phone lines from different providers or from a single provider, that's up to you, and route voice from the provider to an app. Now, application, a platform could be Teams, so the SBC is something that you can use in Teams, but could be communication services. So if I want to use my favorite telco instead of Microsoft, I can deploy an SBC. Again, it could be a software that I deploy on Azure. So I just deploy an additional resource in Azure, and this one is going to be my SBC. And the features of the SBC are going to be exactly the same that I get from an hardware, or really similar. Connecting my favorite telco to an SBC and then to a platform, Teams or communication services, is called direct routing. So if I don't want to use numbers that are provided by Microsoft or from other providers via the Microsoft platform, my solution is called direct routing, and it requires a SBC, a device that is able to talk the language of the voice channel, but also the language of the apps. Back to 1 month ago, as part of Azure Communication Services, there was something called Azure Communication Gateway. I added the slide just to say that it is no longer a thing. So this one was a voice gateway, an SBC, managed by Microsoft, because in the previous case, if you deploy an SBC, somebody has to manage it. Somebody has to do the configuration to check if there is an error. It's a network device at the end of the day. So as a switch, as a router, there is a more or less high amount of work to do to keep it running. This one was managed by Microsoft, so eventually you were able to connect your lines to that and use the lines without having to worry about the management. It's no longer a thing, so that was more about keeping you up to date than something that you can deploy. Okay, as I said, direct routing as part of voice. What I have to do is connecting my SBC. I could have more than one, depending on what kind of company and what kind of telephone lines I want to use. And I can connect the SBCs to communication services. And they talk to each other using their FQDN plus network ports, of course, but it's a standard process. It's the same process that we use to connect direct routing to Teams. So if you have seen a connection between SIP voice, SIP telephone lines, and Teams, that's exactly the same. Communication services works as an SBC from a certain point of view. Now, this one, it's the classic slide that you have to add to impress people, but that's the reality, that this is the voice routing logic that you have inside communication services. First question that you ask yourself is, do I have direct routing when I call a specific phone number? Now, this is an Omega number, but that's the same everywhere. So the user dials a number. Okay. Is the number a direct routing? Yes. And in that case, I go to the routes and I see if I have a route that gets me from the user to the destination. If everything goes as I hope, I have success and I go and I have the phone call based on direct routing. However, if I don't have direct routing for that number, or there is no route, or the SBC is not reachable, in that case, I could use as a backup solution the Microsoft voice calling PSTN, so the Microsoft numbers, okay? It's a routing logic like the one that you use for network. Okay, so one of the strong points about communication services is that you have automation. What do I mean? Well, your software, whatever is the app that you are going to create, interacting with communication services can automate whatever is the voice operation that you're going to do. For example, you are able to create a workflow that answers to the calls as soon as they arrive, sends a greeting message to the user, plays an audio file or a text-to-speech message, records the call, transfers the call to an agent, gets the DTMF, so the, let's say, phone keyboard, and you can also connect a bot like Copilot Studio on the back of an automation. That works both for VoIP and for traditional PSTN numbers that I connected to the communication services. So my software has to be able to interact with communication services, and that's the example that I think makes sense to show. So I have an event. The event is incoming call. My software has to react to the event with an action, which could be answer the call. And another event, the user presses 1, okay, and I can play a message. The user, let's say, is part of a, pressing 1 is part of a business rule that says that I have to record the call. Fine. And I have an automation that manages recording. The call is closed. Okay, I want to store the recording or trigger another automation. So there is a continuous interaction between communication services and my software. As long as my software, my app, is able to send the request or receive the request in the right way, everything works in an automatic way. So there is no motivation for me to write a software that does the voice recording or a software that manages the calls. I just have to create a software that asks to communication services to do the job. This is a little bit more technical if you want. So how does it work? The incoming call goes to communication services. Communication services sends an event to the event grid. We will see this one, so don't worry if it looks a little bit, let's say, abstract now. The event grid talks with a webhook. The webhook does a process, whatever is the event. For example, it could be incoming call, or could be end of the call, and so on. And the app sends the command back to communication services. And that's the whole story that we said about the automation. I get an event from communication services. I send a request to communication services as an answer. And communication services executes the next action. So there is this kind of loop between my app and communication services. Each single event is going to create this kind of actions. I talked about the webhook. The webhook is a HTTPS endpoint. In my example, in my lab, I have used a web app, an Azure web app. And so I have this app running on HTTPS, listening for calls. As soon as there is an event, ACS sends the event to the webhook, and the webhook talks with the event grid. Okay, and so every single event, new call, incoming call, call disconnected, and so on, goes from communication services to the webhook, and from the webhook to the event grid. Okay. Subscription validation as part of the configuration when you create a webhook. The webhook verifies if the URL that you are providing is a valid one. So there is also an element of, let's say, controls, if you want. I'm sure that the HTTPS endpoint that I'm using is listening and is able to manage the calls. I think that's really interesting because I know that this is a service that you have to pay if you use Teams. Usually it's a third-party service. Communication Services has inside the recording. So if you want to record a call, ACS is able to manage recording without having to add any kind of third-party software. Okay. ACS does the capture of the audio, it generates the recording chunks, it does the packaging of them and saves them in a storage, which could be a Azure blob. Now, the lab that I created, I'm just going to explain it, is based on an existing sample from Microsoft. And what does the sample do? Well, I probably prefer to show you the pieces instead of just showing you the slides. So let's start with my resource group in Azure. First thing first, clearly, I have my communication services. First thing that I have to do is creating an event, because I said, okay, what happens when I get a phone call? Well, that's an event, and the communication services has to send the event somewhere. The somewhere is going to be the event grid. So if you look at the resource group, ACS 2025 incoming calls, that's my event grid. Inside I have different topics, but realize that I have only one at the moment, which is this test voice. What does the subscription do? It talks with a webhook. If I try to change this one with something that does not exist, you see, confirm selection. If I try to save it, here you go. There is a verification. It is going to fail because clearly that website, that app does not exist. Take your time, communication services. And that's the part about the checks that I explained during the slides. If the webhook doesn't exist, here you go. Deployment failed, the webhook validation and shake, blah, 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 not reachable. So let's discard the changes, okay? So now we have already two different pieces. We have communication services. We have an event grid that is listening to events coming from ACS. What I need now is the third part of the job, which is the webhook. The webhook is a web app, and that's the painful part of the work, if you want, because just showing you with Visual Studio, sorry, Visual Basic. It really means that I'm getting old. But anyway, if you look at the code for the call automation, and that's just for example, it's something like 500 lines. Inside and that's actually the developer job. You have the infrastructure and the features in Azure, and the devs have to decide how to use them. So this is the app. It's program.cs. This is the app, which is kind of really long. It's more than 400 lines. And clearly inside you have, for each event that I receive from the event grid, I have an action. So that's the whole story that we said about automation. For example, call, let's see, event, okay, new call. What happens when I get a new call? There is a welcome message. And then I do another action, and then another action, and then eventually I go back to communication services and I say, okay, look, I know that there is an incoming call. Let's go for the next action, and so on and so on and so on. So this is the living part of the whole deployment. And in this case, I have also a app setting, which has all the different variables for my environment. So the name of the communication services, or the key for Copilot, and so on. And what else? So cautious of time, obviously. So we said our ACS, our Event Grid, our webhook. Now, as part of this specific deployment, I am also going to use the cognitive services. And that's because in this specific scenario, Copilot is not able to get voice. Actually, there is something to say about that, but I will go there in a minute. Let's say that it is not able to. So what I need is a subscription, a connection between my communication services and the cognitive services. So that's another piece that I will see in my resource group, is the AI Foundry. And inside the AI Foundry, if I look for the endpoints, I will see that I have different services, including speech to text and text to speech. So using the two endpoints that you see here, I'm able to translate voice to text, sorry, send the text to Copilot Studio, in this case an agent, and then get back the answer and translate the answer from text to voice. Now, I said that there is no way to use voice straight with Copilot Studio. I'm going to talk about that in a second. So what I have done so far, I have all the pieces to send text to Copilot and to get an answer. More or less, my work on communication services here is done. I have all the pieces. The last part of the job is creating an agent. Now, what I've done here is creating an agent, giving a description, which is, okay, this agent is going to receive voice calls. This agent is going to have to perform action, answer to the questions. What the agent is not going to do, for example, do not provide medical advice, do not create, let's say, hallucinating about stuff that doesn't exist, like prices, policies, and so on. This description, to be honest with you, I created a basic one, and then I gave it to an artificial intelligence and said, okay, I have to create a Copilot agent. This is the basic idea. Don't use slang, don't try to make jokes or something like that. And the artificial intelligence kindly created a description for an agent. Now, to talk with the agent, there are different ways, including telephony, and this is really ironic because when I have seen telephony the first time, I thought that I was able to talk with Copilot agents using PSTN calls, but the reality is that this telephony here is just if you have a Dynamics platform, so Dynamics voice. And if you try to use this telephony for anything else, it doesn't work. So this is just for Dynamics. The other one is this direct line speech, which should do the work that we want to do. Again, instead of having to translate voice to text and text to voice, Copilot should be able to get a voice call from communication services in this case, and manage the questions and manage the communication. This one at the moment is not really easy to use and doesn't really work as it should. And there is an additional limitation. I think that at the moment it works just for US based tenants. So if you try to deploy this one in the UK, I am not sure that it works as expected. More or less, I think that's it for me. Oh yeah, the only additional note, we said Event Grid. If you want to be sure that everything works, the first control that you have to do is going into your Azure subscription inside the resource providers and enable Microsoft Event Grid, because by default it's not enabled, and so it means that the whole story about communication services going to the Event Grid and then going to the webhook and then doing actions is not going to even start. Okay, now I have really finished.
Oh, that was great stuff. Thanks, Fabrizio. Really appreciate that talk. It was it's one of those things, as you're talking there, talking about voice agents and obviously being able to kind of have automated responses. You've got to think how long before we stick a bit of generative AI in there as well, right? And put that as an endpoint. But no, really good stuff.
Thank you.
I don't know if there's any questions. If there's any questions in the chat, then please do pop them in there now. But for now, Fabrizio, thank you very much. Matt, I don't know if you've got anything to add.
No, it was really good.
No.
Really good.
No, great stuff.
Thank you, Fabrizio.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Stick around, Fabrizio. We can jump straight into the quiz. More than welcome to take part. And I guess we'll head straight over there now. Is it, Matt? We'll
Yep, I shall fire it up.
Jump in.
Let's try that one. Start us up.
Yeah, a few people saying about ACS. It's one of those services, I think, in Azure that it doesn't get much love from my experience. It's kind of overlooked, but the power and the capabilities are all in there. So yeah, it's definitely worth looking into, Paul and Jim.
There's a lot of developer experience to be used in that. So that's why potentially people that are not devs are not really attracted, because you have to write your stuff, you have to create your stuff. So in the Microsoft samples, I can tell you that they are horrible. They are really not.
Are they really?
Done.
Yeah.
No, at the moment they're not there.
You can't help but think that, like you say, it's just got an input, into the Microsoft backbone for voice and media services. You can't help but think that they would put some kind of an easy to use wrapper or maybe build it directly into Teams. Well, we know it's coming to a certain extent within Teams, but for those, bespoke developments, you would have thought that that surely on some roadmap somewhere, right?
I did a project not long ago where people were doing live translation using ACS, which is very cool. And it would detect the language that the user was speaking in and try to translate that for other people as well. Very impressive.
It's powerful stuff. Yeah, so you don't realise exactly how much power is in there, really, do you? Like you say, it's probably just that it's hidden behind that developer wall.
It's such a nice little service as well for just the little ad hoc, like if you just want email. It's a nice, easy thing to set up. You can just kind of spin it up.
Oh, I didn't say that. Talking about the cost, if you wanted to try that, you can use the usual Microsoft 365 demo, the demo tenants, like the CDX or similar ones. Inside, you can enable the Copilot Studio Viral license, so you can develop with Copilot Studio. The only part that doesn't work is publishing the Copilot agent, but you can do that if you have a trial of Dynamics. So at the end of the day, at least on the Microsoft 365 part, you can do your test without spending money. And in Azure, probably the only expense is the phone number, which is $1, $2, depends. So
yeah, it wasn't bad price, was it, for those calls? It wasn't bad at all, really, was it?
Yeah. So what I wanted to say is that in this case, it's doable to do a little bit of testing without having to actually the Copilot Studio license that allows you to publish. The professional one is £200 a month, I think. So at least when I have done the lab, I have tried different ways to have a little bit of time to do the testing without breaking the bank.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it?
Shall we kick this off?
Yeah. Do you want to? I mean, Fabrizio, feel free. You can join yourself if you want to join in. Not a problem. What we doing? A £25 voucher tonight, Matt?
Yeah. One for the winner.
I will vote for you.
Go on,
okay,
then. Jump in.
And 3, 2, 1. Let's get started. Where is Ignite happening this year? It's very handy, from my point of view, having Ignite going on at the same time, because it means I get loads of questions out the back of it.
I was going to say there's
although I didn't pick very many, actually. I did a deep dive into ACS for a lot of these questions. So, correct answer is San Francisco. Which of the following services is a key feature of ACS? And put the music on. Oh, I should have put music on. Oh, some Skynet. You're doing amazingly well today. Which service can automate call handling workflows with ACS? I'm sure if you tried really hard, you could get one of the other services to do it as well. But there's one primarily that we're talking about. Azure Functions. What ACS feature supports automated IVR experiences? How I started my career was building IVRs on PBX systems. Back when they were big boards that you had sat in a lab somewhere.
I spent 10 years of my life at BT, Matt. So
oh yeah, of course you did. Yeah. You're fully immersed in that world. Which platform can ACS integrate with for unified communication? I would love to see it in code spaces. How about again? True or false? ACS can provide real-time transcription for incoming voice calls. Correct answer is true. Robert again. What tool helps capture operational insights from ACS workloads? And I will give you a hint, it's not the right answer, but if you haven't played with Azure Chaos Studio, it's great and incredibly scary if you're an infrastructure person. ACS voice workflows can integrate with Copilot Studio for automated interactions. Is that true or false? That GIF, for some reason, was the thing that came up when I searched for Copilot. P, well done. Which service can enhance ACS core workflows with policy-driven actions? I think this was a GPT question. The answer is Dynamics 365. How many times does the word agent appear in the Ignite Book of News? Blind guess now, unless you can search really fast. Unless it's been updated, the last time I checked, it appeared 424 times. And our winner tonight is Skynet. Well done. Who's Skynet for tonight?
Good stuff. Who is Skynet? Who is Skynet? Let me know. Let me know your email address. Drop it in the chat for me, and I'll.
It wasn't even close.
Oh, of
Pete
course it was.
800 points
Alan.
behind.
There we are. It's Alan.
Nice.
Right, Alan. Yeah, just pop me a message over so I remember. But no, thanks, Matt. Marvelous as always. Let me quickly share my screen, get back to the deck to close this one off. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining. Really appreciate the support, and huge thanks to Fabrizio for another fantastic talk this evening. I just realized I didn't get everybody to come off and use the emoticons for you. Very sorry, Fabrizio. So please do use the emoticons. Is that what we call them? Reactions we call them, don't we? There we go.
Reactions, yeah.
Reactions. Emoticons. Where did I get that one from, Matt? But no, thanks as always.
Transformers.
Was it a Transformer? Who knows?
No.
Who knows? No, thank you everybody for joining. Really appreciate it. We are going to take a break into December. So look, this is the last user group for 2025. It feels ridiculous to be saying this now, but have a fantastic Christmas and New Year, everybody. Look forward to seeing you. We're going to have a little bit of a rethink into the new year, but we'll probably come with something slightly different maybe into the new year. But look, thank you everybody as always for joining. Thanks for all the support. And yes, let's leave it there. It's a good night from all of us at the Welsh Azure User Group. And thanks again, Fabrizio. We'll see you all very soon.
Thank you. Cheers. Good night.
Cheers all.